Well, I want to tell the viewers, first of all, that I'm licensed as a marriage and family therapist,
Okay.
and that I've been in the profession over 20 years.
Okay.
Okay, and I actually have a PhD in marriage and family therapy.
Okay.
So my official name is Dr. Westbrooks.
Okay.
So as you listen to my responses, just keep that in mind. All right. So I believe that the top three issues Black women face are relationship issues, child rearing issues, and then issues with anxiety and depression. Those would be the top three.
Okay. When it comes to like anxiety, is there like an example that you can give me?
Yes, I think historically speaking, the black family, but you know, we know that there's a rainbow, there's a range, there's no such thing as really the black family. But there's been a considerable stress on the female gender, and so much so that we actually have a phrase in the mental health world, those of us who are like African American mental health people, and that is we've observed that our families raise their daughters and love their sons. Okay, what's the anxiety in that? There's anxiety because of that very fact. We love our sons because we're afraid for them, because we know that the black male is targeted in society. They can't have a hoodie on without being shot and killed.
Yeah.
We raise our daughters because we're afraid for them too. We're afraid that they're going to have to go it alone. So we want them to be strong. We want them to have skills. We wanted them to be able to plan and organize and set a goal and reach it. We want them to be able to push through pain. We want them to be able to push through sexism. We want them to be able to push through not being hired, not being hired, not being hired. See, so much of our parenting is fear driven because, quite frankly, we are still in a racist society. You know, and so that's just a practical way, but it has some psychological consequences though.
Okay.
When we love our sons, one of the things that they don't get, that the daughters get, is they don't get a sense of being able to stand squarely on their feet. See, we love our sons by rescuing them. We love our sons by not wanting them to experience consequences. Why? Because the consequences society has are deadly. The consequences that society has is incarcerating them, you know, and taking their freedom away. So since society has such severe consequences, we and our families, to compensate, don't have that many consequences at all. Well, that's a huge psychological blow then to the young male who's been developed into a man. Because when they get to be a man, they're a man in the physical respect, but maybe not so much in the psychological respect. So we have a significant percentage of our men who are still little boys. And so I told you that one of the top three issues for black women, I said the first top issue was relationships. Well, okay, it would make sense that it's relationships, because if we got a significant percentage of our men walking around that are really little boys, what happens is when they meet and marry a man and have kids by a man, that man kind of gets wrapped up in taking care of the kids. You taking care of the man and the kids as if the man is the child himself. See, so the woman is still, quote unquote, going it alone, because he might be working, but she's still, you know, making sure the mortgage is paid, the rent's paid, the food is purchased and prepared, the kids are taken care of, etc., 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 and he may be playing the video games and not know anything's wrong. And I'm telling you real life stuff. So when people present for counseling, they will say, different things, okay, in detail. But what they're really saying is, we're suffering from the consequences of her being raised and me being loved.
Mm.
That's what they're saying.
That's super deep. There really is. Because I can actually see that within my own family. Of my brother being loved and babied.
And God help whatever woman he ends up with.
Oh, no, he's in jail. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
See, so the very thing we fear, it actually comes into reality. Because if a person's not suffering any consequences inside the home, then they get a consequence from society. See, so the very thing we did not want to have happen happens. I'm not saying anything to do with how he was raised. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying there's a pattern that we see, and it's documented in quite much of the research.
okay.
This pattern of our men being incarcerated. It has nothing to do with broken homes. It has nothing to do with poverty. It's honestly, if you want to know the truth about it, it's a vestige of slavery. We never did recover from the trauma of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
We never recovered.
Have you heard about post-traumatic slave syndrome?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was out in the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. But the thing about that syndrome is it's identified. But the solution, what's the solution to it? Because you see what happens in families is from generation to generation, whatever issues we have get amplified over time.
Mm-hmm.
Amplified over time. So that means that whatever issues my grandparents had is amplified in my generation, and then the one or two generations after me is even more heightened and amplified.
And I can definitely see that. Because we, in my family, the bad habits that my grandmother had, my mother had, and I'm fighting personally against
to break the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see that also with things like alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see it run through the generations. If you see alcoholism in a family, in a person, if you shake the family tree, other alcoholics will definitely fall out of the tree.
Okay. So it's either like a environmental training almost?
No, actually, alcoholism has to do with the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you wrap up when you take a look at your 5 spheres, physical, mental, social, educational, and financial.
Mm-hmm. The 5 spheres of life.
The 5 spheres of life, yeah. So if we look at alcoholism, it impacts all 5 of them. It cuts across all 5.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, of course we have highly educated alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
But chances are there are highly educated alcoholics in the whole family.
Okay.
Multi-generational. So because family values certain things doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to rule out some of the diseases and disorders that are susceptible to those families.
Okay.
One of the things in our community, we stress education. We want our children to get a good education. Nothing wrong with that. I myself, I'm a product of a very excellent education, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, private school from grade 9 all the way to PhD.
Mm-hmm.
Private school.
Yeah.
Okay? So really excellent education. But excellent education did not wipe out that I was part of a certain gene pool. And it didn't wipe out, my brain that I inherited from my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where I got lucky is, what I inherited was, if we're going to talk positive and negative, the positive that I inherited was the susceptibility for spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And the love of education, because I come from a whole line of teachers. Okay?
Yeah.
So sometimes I can't even help myself. I was on the phone with a lady today to ask her about a process. And she was telling me about the process. And I said, seriously? There's nothing about this process you can do online? And I said, oh, look at me. I'm sorry, that's my characteristic coming out.
Okay.
I said, this seems a little antiquated. I said, the millennials, when they come through, they're not going to be able to believe this.
Yeah.
That there's nothing they can do online. So that was the positive. The negative, I'll go ahead and talk about that one. The negative is my daddy was a gambler, a serious gambler.
Ooh. And
I noticed that in times of stress, I have a propensity to want to gamble. Now, I will tell you, I really, really wish I made a bet on American Pharoah. That was the Triple Crown winner. But I'm like this. I got I'm sitting on my hands, right? Because I don't want to get online and I don't want to call any bookies.
Yeah.
And I imagine my father sitting there. You gotta live a little, girl. You gotta live a little. Go ahead, throw $100, throw $500, throw $1,000.
Yeah.
He was a serious gambler. He was a serious gambler in the 70s and the 80s when money really meant something.
Yeah.
$1,000 was really a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
And boom, it'd be gone in a puff of smoke. Yes. So the fact is, we're gonna naturally inherit some stuff, and the real challenge is, how do you manage it?
And I've had to deal with that myself because I have alcoholism in my family, and I find myself like pinching back when I go out drinking with my friends or something
Just
like that.
have that one drink.
Yeah, I'll have one drink, or if I have a couple of them, then I don't drink for a couple of weeks, and I'm like, I want to go out, but I want to go out.
Right.
Because, it's like that, you have, but I grew up in Al-Anon, too. So,
Okay.
I grew up in Al-Anon, so I learned to be like, there's a sign. Hold
I know you're looking for the clues.
I'm looking for the clues, and I pay a lot of attention to it. So I understand where, it's something that you grow up with, and you get used to handle it the way that your parents or your environment taught you to handle it. Yeah. And so that's why I kind of understood when you said an educated alcoholic probably has educated alcoholics in their family.
Yes.
That's because they learned how to deal with the alcoholism through them.
Right.
Yeah.
So they can be highly functioning alcoholics.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't get that one though. I got the highly unfunctioning. I hope you're not watching this.
So you got the point on that.
Yeah, I really did. So okay, cool. One thing I did want to touch on.
Yes, ma'am.
We mentioned the 5 spheres of life.
Yes.
Just so for the viewers who don't know what those are financial, educational, social, mental, and physical. And the person who taught me, I bet you're watching this right now. Yes, I am linking it to my life, and those cover every single aspect of your life. And if you work on those and you make goals for those, you will find a huge difference in your life. You'll see that you're reaching goals, you're going to the next level a lot quicker than you were before. So my next question is, Black women are often depicted as overly aggressive. Does this affect the way that they are treated while in counseling?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It impacts it. Because, let's say a non-black woman, counseling a black woman is could easily, what we call it microaggressions. And what a microaggression is imposing a stereotype on somebody without any kind of justification for doing that. So they will be quick to think that a black woman's got an attitude because they have a certain tone in their voice, or because they punctuate their words a certain way, or because they use the snap, or because they use a head or something like that. They want to be quick to say that's attitude. When in fact, what it is a strong expression. It's serious expression. It's a communication. And what happens is, if a black woman is seriously communicating how she feels, this whole overly aggressive thing can be misdiagnosed as a mental disorder. And that's where black people need to be careful about who they go to for therapy.
Yeah.
Like if they needed a psychological evaluation, it's best to try to find a black psychologist for that.
Yeah.
Okay? Because any diagnosis goes on your insurance record or whatever, it might not be so good for you.
Yeah.
And the truth is, yes, some people do have mental disorders. And what some people have, just the stresses of living. Okay? And the stresses of dealing with what I call the isms. Racism, sexism, ageism. Like I've got the triple threat now. Okay? I got the ageism thing going on.
When I first saw you, I was like, hold on, how old are you again? Because you do not look old at all to me, so you might got a couple years before you get to the ageism.
Oh, you think so?
I believe so.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
need to do her regimen, exfoliate a little bit.
I had a little video without having my hair done.
Oh, well, it looks good. I love the dreads.
Okay.
I want to dreads so bad. I don't want the little baby dreads.
Well, you gotta start out with baby dreads. They grow very fast.
Really?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, when I have my dreads down, the question I get most often is, how long have you had your dreads?
Yeah.
Because when they're down, they're like down to here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's up here really tight. It's tight. It's tight. Really.
It looks very professional. We
Thank you.
definitely have to talk about, wearing natural hair in the black and being in professional too. So we'll talk about that in another video.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So we were talking about.
We were talking about black women
being overly aggressive.
Overly aggressive. So, and the fear about being perceived as overly aggressive is being misassessed, misdiagnosed, and basically mistreated. Because you write that treatment plan based on the assessment and the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share a little bit. I've been to counseling, and I specifically asked for black women.
Yeah, a lot of black women ask for black women.
Yeah.
That would be the smartest way to go.
Yeah.
Why? Because that black woman does get something about being a black woman that you don't have to explain to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you go into counseling, you really want to explain as little as possible about what it's like to be you.
Yeah. And it's more for me even a historical thing. Just because I'm afraid that I don't know who I'm talking to, honestly. And they may over-medicate me, or, not even set me up for something, but accidentally put me in a program that is not good for me.
And see, that's another thing when we talk about the vestiges of slavery. We've never gotten over our trauma. And at the core of our trauma is can I trust you?
Yeah. And that's a real question. It's not even like, you know, a trauma thing. It's an actual, you know, safety question. Can I trust you?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, have you heard of medical apartheid?
No.
There's a book called Medical Apartheid, and it talks about experimentation on black people throughout history. Yeah.
Well, the Tuskegee experiment is a prime example.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a prime example.
Yeah.
They're shooting the people with syphilis just to see what's the progression of the disease. And lying to the participants, telling them they're just coming for a general checkup.
Yeah. The one that got me in that book was the gynecology one.
Okay, explain that.
There was this famous guy, I forgot his name, and he was a doctor, and he studied gynecology, and he had slaves, and so what he would do is he would have his slave woman, you know, come in, and he would, you know, put them on the table, and he would cut out their lady parts, and he wouldn't give them any medicine for it. And he said that black women were able to take pain. He has a statue right now in Washington for his experiments.
This is a story in the medical apartheid.
Medical apartheid, true story.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff we're, you know, trying to recover from. It's not just, you know, oh, we fear white people. Oh, it's
hey, look, I know it's justified.
Yeah, justified fear. Even today. Trump won Kentucky. I'm not a Trump fan. I'm sorry. I'm a Bernie fan all the way.
The trauma continues.
Yeah, every day.
The trauma continues. Like when people graduate from college and they're trying to get on their feet and not getting a job, got the exact same credentials as somebody else. That's the trauma continuing. You know, being lied to is the trauma continuing. You know. Yeah. So we really have some serious issues.
And I believe that we're now in a time where we're really focusing on them, and I think that makes certain people, you know, nervous, especially when they realize, you know, their status is being threatened. You know, when black people take their power back, you know, all of a sudden, oh well, we won't give you a job, won't matter.
And you know, that whole attitude of giving us a job.
Yeah.
That actually totally rubs me the wrong way. Okay? Because the fact is they haven't given us anything.
Yeah.
You know, they really haven't. And then when we do get hired, you know, actually when I was growing up, my parents had a phrase about black folks. That we were the last hired and the first fired. See, so whenever I went into the job world, I went in with that theme in my head. And so when they would fire folks, I was never shocked. Never shocked. Because I always expected that a black person was going to get fired, and being black myself didn't exempt me from being one of the people fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my, I'm trying to think now, trying to count, okay? I've actually been fired from a job at least 3 or 4 times in my life so far. And I mean, we're talking about respectable type jobs. And not because of any wrong thing I did, but because of restructuring, or we're going to just change this here, we're going to take this out, and we're going to put this new thing in.
Yeah. Yeah. That's deep. That's deep.
So, you know, this women being depicted as overly aggressive does not just impact the counseling experience, it also impacts the occupational experience as well.
Yeah.
You know, and like if you're in a profession, well, okay, now the profession that I'm in as a therapist, actually being aggressive has helped me. because I was appointed by the governor to be on the state licensure board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, being aggressive helped because that's that no nonsense approach. They need no nonsense people to regulate the profession.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so then from that I went to being on the national board. So right now I'm serving the state board and the national board in exactly the same years.
Wow.
Okay, I think that depiction of strong black women helps me because that's no nonsense. I get people, community health agencies and all around here, they'll call and say, I'm calling you because you're on the licensure board. And I'll go, okay. And, see, and then whatever their petition is or request is or whatever it is, I'll play back, okay, if I'm tracking you, this is what your issue is. Now you've got to know that I'm not the licensure board. I can't make any decision based on what you're telling me.
Yeah.
You know? And I can't change the culture of Frankfurt based on what you're telling me.
Yeah.
See, so that whole black woman attitude thing totally rocks for me. You know, because when they hang up the phone, what they're going to be thinking, oh, I should have known.
Yeah.
I should have known I wasn't going to get too far with her.
Yeah. Okay.
See, so you can totally rock it too.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you
always
definitely
like
got black girl magic. Yeah.
You can totally rock it.
Yes. And I'm so happy for this opportunity. It's really made me feel proud to be a black woman just because you exist. Yeah.
Wow.
Really. Really. I did not grow up with anybody who I could look at and be like, I want to be like her one day. And I respect you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Did I give you a card?
You gave me a card.
Okay. Okay.
And I will be sharing
Maybe
the
I
card
should give you
on
more,
the
maybe I should give you more than one. Okay.
I will hand them
There you
out.
go.
Thank you.
Maybe if you know a black woman, you know,
You know.
who needs just a little bit of help, give me a call. Because you know that's how we say it.
Yeah.
We need just a little bit of help.
You know? And I feel like the more we look within ourselves, the more power we're gonna find.
And we need that.
Yeah.
We need that.
And you know, there's this one guy. I reshared him on my Facebook page. He said it's not that we dislike you specifically. He was Asian. He's like, we don't want to dislike black people specifically. It just has nothing to do with us. You know, they just don't care. You know, and that's real. And I respected him for that one because he's like, I just don't care about black issues. It does not affect me. It does not affect my family. It doesn't affect, you know, my neighborhood. None of that.
Yeah.
And we can't expect anybody else to try to fix our problems. We have to look at the people who look like
And
us.
that guy who said, well, it doesn't affect me, guess what? He speaks for at least 99% of the people out there.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we got black folks who don't want to talk about black issues.
And I will have a whole segment dedicated to that, okay? Because it does. And I have family members like that.
Yeah. Okay. Is it getting heated up in here? It's
I
getting heated up in here.
those little tits. Okay. So my next question is, do black women have a different outlook on their father figures because of the fatherless stereotype? Both if they have them in their life and if they don't.
You know, the thing about black women and father figures is so serious. And again, I gotta go back to the vestiges of slavery. Okay? Because our strong black men were sold to the highest bidder on the auction block. And what that did psychologically to women was, number one, start being afraid for their men. Start being afraid they're going to lose them and start strengthening their daughters. We all the way back to loving the man and raising the woman. Loving the boy, raising the girl. And in terms of the father figure thing, I believe that it's a tragedy, real tragedy, for a girl to grow up without a father, a real father, a father, an everyday father, okay? Somebody who has a loving relationship with her, that's a healthy, loving relationship. I think it's a tragedy because when you project into the future, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, what happens is a fatherless daughter doesn't really know what realistically to expect from a man. So what they intend to do is to have a wish list, a fantasy. And then when that fantasy is not fulfilled, she got to drop that one and get her somebody who will. Not realize, let me just tell you something. I used to be a mental health consultant in a school, a private school. And of course I did cater a little bit to the black women teachers because I come from a whole long line of black women teachers. Mm-hmm. And I had a black female teacher sit me down and she said, "You know what, Dr. Westbrook?" So I was like, "What?" She said, she said, "When I got married, I had a certain expectation of my husband. He was a Morehouse man." There's a saying, you can tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much. And she said, had I known what I know now, I would have never divorced him. And I think when we talk some more, and basically what she meant by that is, what she knew now is that his frailties and faults and vulnerabilities